Hello, my name is Yeji, otherwise known as ANdmadeco here on YouTube and on Instagram. Today, I want to talk all about my November makes, as well as December plans and some content plans. Just before we get started, I wanted to give a little quick reminder of the giveaway I'm having from the last episode, and I'll draw the winner next episode, next week. And all of the information on how to enter is in the description box of episode 8. First, we'll get started with what I'm currently wearing. I'm wearing Lento by Jonna Helene. I'm not sure exactly how to say her last name. It's spelled Helin. And this was published in Lento magazine, issue number 11. And I bought it as a separate pattern on Ravelry. This Lento is best known for its loose gauge. It's at 15 stitches over 4 inches, which also makes it a quick knit. It's the most known because it doesn't use that much yarn compared to the amount of sweater you get out of it because of the loose gauge. And so for my version, I knit a size 2 and I used Madeline Tosh Merino Light, which is a fingering weight yarn in blue gingham, as well as Held With Drops Brushed Alpaca Silk in 17 light lavender. And I used 4.8 balls of the Drops Alpaca Silk, and that comes in 25-gram balls, and 1.7 skeins of the Tosh Merino Light, which makes this a very light sweater to wear, and it's quite airy. As I said, it's a pretty quick knit. I knit this over 6 days, so from February 8th to the 13th in 2023, and I made a reel comparing the Lento to Petite Knit's No Frills sweater, so I'll link to that in the description box below. The modifications I made to the sweater are that I made the body slightly longer as well as the arms slightly longer. The recommended ease is 5 inches, and I only really have 2 or 3 inches of positive ease in the sweater, but I chose to go a size down because I didn't want it to be oversized. I didn't want that 5 inches of positive ease. And the biggest factor was that I didn't know how much yarn I would be using, as in a size 2, I think it goes up to 2 skeins. And so I decided to make the Lento in a size 2 to be closer fitting to my body, but I did end up having 30 grams left over, and so I probably could have gotten away with a size 3 had I chosen to make that size instead. This is a pretty size inclusive pattern. It starts at 38 inches and it goes all the way up to 67 inches for the finished bust circumference. So including the 5 inches of positive ease, it has the upward limit of, I guess, 62 to 63 inches, depending on the amount of positive ease that you'd like in your sweater. Overall, I'm really happy with both the fit of the sweater, the length of it, and how it looks. The only thing is, because of the looser gauge, I do see the fabric fold a little bit, and sometimes I think it's not as flattering, but it's fine. Next, we'll go over all of my November makes, and the ones that I've finished that I've already talked about in previous videos. I'll just list the pattern name as well as the designer and the picture up on the side. And if you would like to know more details of the finished garment or the finished accessory, the finished object, then you could refer back to that episode. In episode 6, we talk about the Port Jacket by Ozetta, as well as the Oslo hat by Petite Knit and Trim the Tree Socks by Michelle Frazetta. In episode 7, we talk about the Woodland Stockings, Big Animals, and I made the fox motif, and this is a pattern by Allison Lutz, or Field Wonderful on Instagram. And I also talk about 3 gnomes. This is the episode where I started getting very into gnome making, from the Gnomes of Grimblewood book by Sarah Shira, or imagined_landscapes on Instagram. And I made Natalia, which is the colorwork gnome, Nicole, the cabled hat gnome, as well as Nectar, the marled gnome. And then in the last episode, episode 8, I talk about Lume by Sari Nordland, as well as A Twisted Affair by Joji Logatelli, and 2 more gnomes. I finished Nectar, my second Nectar, as well as my first Gnorri, who is a pocket bearded gnome. But I made my version without the pocket beard. That leads us into this week's first finished object, and that is my Gnorri number 2. And this Gnorri is also doesn't have the pocket on the beard, but instead I attached it to the side. And so this is a pattern by Sarah Shira. I use a US 3.25 millimeter needles for all my gnomes, and this is my most recent one. I talked about last week in my plans of wanting to make a Seattle colored gnome because I was looking at this yarn by Cascade Yarn Heritage Prints. And this is in the color 128, and I think it's just called Seattle. And it has the blues and greens of the Seahawks. So for this, I did some yarn management, not too much, but I used mostly the green for the top as well as blue, but you do see some blue showing in the in Gnorri's hat. I held Cascade Heritage Prints this yarn with the green part. I held with Knit Picks, Stroll. I think this is Stroll Effects and Kiwi, but it came in the Stroll tonal pack in Clown Car that I used for Trim the Tree Socks before, and I used the other colors last week when I was making the other Gnorri. And for the blue, I held it together with Regia. This is a blue color in 1844. So for the body, I held the blue with the blue and the green with the green for the hat. I think it came out to a pretty cute gnome. The colors aren't as vibrant as I think Seahawks colors are, but I'm really happy. And this one is pretty weighted. I'm not sure what to do with this yet, but I might include it with the other nectar I was planning on giving as the white elephant gift exchange so that they can remain friends and be together. And my friend actually suggested putting a small magnet in the hand so that the gnomes can hold hands, which I think is a very cute idea. And I'd love to do it, but I don't really want to buy any magnets for this household because I still have very young children. For the white for the Gnorri, I use 1992 as I always do, which is the Regia 4-ply off-white. And I think I'm pretty gnomed out now, and I'm done making gnomes for a little while. I've made 6 gnomes this month, and I'm really happy that I made the gnomes and I'm gifting them. And I think they make great gifts, as I said before, but I think I'm okay with not making any more for a little while. My next finished object is my last finished object, and this is it. This is the Musselburgh by Isola Teague, and I made it with Hazelnut's Artisan Sock in the color Industrial. I always like to, after I fold it in, shake it out a little bit so that it really comes into position before folding up the brim. So I'll show you with this on my head. I made the size adult medium with a 3.25 millimeter needle, and I just held this artisan sock yarn by itself. It isn't super tight on my head, and the thing that I like the most about the Musselburgh is that depending on your head size, the brim could be very wide or narrow, and depending on how much you want at the top, you can also change it to your liking. I'm not sure where it went, but I only have the tiniest nugget left of this yarn. I only have 1.5 grams of this yarn left. And so I used the entire skein, and the artisan sock yarn is a little different because it doesn't come in 100 grams. When I weighed this was a 130 gram hank, and it promises 400 yards, but I think it might have been slightly longer than that because this hat has quite a wide brim compared to the other Musselburgh that I made. I really like the gauge on the 3.25 millimeter needle, a US 3 needle. It gives a really, with the plump fingering weight, it really gives a dense fabric, but it's not too dense as it didn't hurt my hand. After I did the increases, I weighed the yarn and I found that I used 11.3 grams to do the increases. So I just left 13 grams for when I had to do the decreases to make sure that I maximize my yarn usage. I am really enjoying this colorway as well. It has a little bit of dimension to it. I'm not sure if you can see, it's a little dark in here. And this will also be a part of the White Elephant gift exchange now that I finished it for next month. But I will include this as a part of my husband's gifts as a part of my husband's entry into the gift exchange. The gnomes will be my entry. Sorry if there was a shift in camera angles. I had to change it a little bit because the tripod was sitting on my next work in progress. So now we'll move into work in progress. And my first work in progress is the Northern Augustins 6, number 6 by Anne-Sophie Velling, augustine.dk on Instagram. And for some people, I mentioned their Instagram handle, and for some people, I don't, because the people I mentioned their Instagram handle, I feel like I know their work mostly through Instagram, or I first discovered their Instagram. So that's why I do it. There's no real rhyme or reason to it. This is my Northern Augustine number 6. So I'm done the yoke. I've joined in the round, and now all I have to do is the stockinette for the body as well as the sleeves. I did steam block it, and I'll talk a lot more into details, and I don't want to be repeating too much of what I said last week into this week and then into next week, hopefully when I'm done with the sweater. But even if I'm not done next week, then the week after, I just don't want to be too repetitive in my videos of the same information. So I'll just talk about the progress that I've made this week. And if I've made any modifications, then I'll mention it now. And then when I'm completely done the sweater, I'll mention then based on how it fits and all of the pros and cons. And so this is knit on a US 6 4mm needle. I'm using the Isayer Jensen as well as Alpaca 2 held double because that's a light fingering weight yarn for all of the color work. And I was almost done. I was done the until the presents last time. I was working on the trees for color work, so I made quite a bit of progress this week. But the biggest thing that I did this week for modifying it is that I added short rows to the back. So the beginning of round for this one is in the back of the right shoulder. And so that means that I had to do almost one round, make a temporary beginning of round in the middle of the back so that I could do German short rows. And I went a little into the sleeve, but not too far deep. So we'll hopefully have a good fit at the end. But I'm not 100% sure on how it will fit because short rows isn't something that was included in this pattern. But because of the fit of it, I didn't want it to be choking me because I knew that it would have a high neck. And without short rows, I didn't want there to be weird bunching in the yoke or it to be falling behind my shoulders and for the front of the sweater to constantly be creeping up. I thought that would be quite uncomfortable. So the exact numbers of the short rows that I did, I will include in my Ravelry once I'm done this project. I'm currently still working on the notes and such. Another modification I think I'll make is that I'll put decreases in the sleeves and I will also probably put a motif. I'm leaning towards the bow motif at the bottom, but I might add the candy cane because so many people have said that the candy cane is super cute, which I agree. But it wasn't something that I thought to add in the bottom, just at the bottom, just before the cuffs. But that's what I might do. If you have any, looking at it now, if you have opinions on what you think I should add, please put it down below. And for this, I am knitting the size 2, and even it recommends a 20 centimeter positive ease, and I think that's a little too much for me. So I think with a size 2, I would probably have more like 10 to 15 centimeters of positive ease. My most exciting work in progress is probably this one, just because I am working on it at this moment in current time, and that is the Oxbow Socks by Andrea Mowry. And this is with the Oxbow Cal Challenge on Instagram that she runs. And I'm using Farmer's Daughter fiber yarn in For the Love of Dolly. And this is my current progress. I started this yesterday. You cast on Thanksgiving. The challenge is that you cast on Thanksgiving Day, American Thanksgiving Day on November 28th, and you try to make it before noon by December 2nd. I really wanted to have this done before I filmed this video, but because I am filming it on a Friday instead of a Saturday morning like I usually would, I don't have it done. And I don't think I can get it done by tomorrow morning either. So I think this is actually going to be a November make. I'm going to try my best to finish it in November. But, you know, I will show it to you next week, as well as if it does happen in November or not. Regardless, I will refer to it probably in my December makes video. The patterning is very pretty, and I'm pulling from the outside of one skein and the inside of one, and you can see the color differences. One is very pink and the other one's yellow, and I think it's quite cute. I knitted exactly 2 pattern, and the only thing to, I guess, keep aware of in this pattern is that when you separate for the heel flap, it's not half and half of the stitches. There's one more stitch on the ankle side, so just be aware of that to stay within pattern. Emily from the Tea Cozy Yarn Shop put together a little group that she invited everybody in a post before to join. And so I've been having a lot of fun just looking at other people's progress on these socks as well. So this will definitely be a finished object by next week, regardless of if I can get it done within the challenge time or not. My next work in progress is something that I barely started, and I just really wanted to cast it on so that I would have it to go after I was done my Northern Augustine No6, and that is the Dagmar jacket. And I talked about working on the Dagmar jacket in November, and instead I decided to make the lume because my hand and my wrists were kind of getting cramped from working back and forth for the port jacket, as well as the bumpy, which is a cardigan I made for my husband before that. And so I cast it on the Dagmar jacket, but there are some changes from the plan that I had before. And you can just see a tiny bit of that honeycomb patterning. The change is that I'm only using the Cascade 220 held by itself, and this is a worsted weight yarn on 4.5 millimeter or US 7 needles, as suggested in the pattern. And I was going to hold it with the Rowan Kitzel Case color, but when I combined these two together, the gauge was becoming a little too tight for my liking, as well as this is so fluffy. The silk mohair in this was overtaking all of the cable detailing, as well as the color of this yarn. So I'll have to find another use for this. I have, I think, 5 of these 50-gram balls, so I have quite a lot of this yarn, and I will definitely find a good use for it. So to be honest, I'm not sure exactly how much I will get done on the Dagmar jacket next week, but hopefully in the weeks to come, I'll have more to say on it as I make more progress. So that's all I have for works in progress. And for plans, I don't think I'll be finished the Dagmar jacket in December, but I mean, maybe I will, who knows. I know I want to get started another port jacket for my husband, and that I plan to finish in the beginning of 2025, and that will be a 2025 item for him. And the Northern Augustine No6 will get finished sometime either beginning of December or mid-December. But I am keeping plans kind of open just because I don't know how busy we'll get during the holiday month. My husband has postponed his paternity leave, so he only took 3 weeks off when my second daughter was first born in April, and now he'll take time off from mid-December until next March. So we might have some more travel. I'm not sure. We'll see. I also wanted to talk through some content plans that I have. And I definitely want to do everything that I made in 2024 video. I also want to do everything I spent, or how much I spent in 2024, as well as just a review of, if I bought a pattern, did I make something out of it? Or if I bought yarn, did I make something out of it? And as I said before, how to keep track. And so I'm planning on having a video. My weekly makes will continue, as well as maybe having some videos in the middle of the week or somewhere in between, with just having a sit down of going over yearly stats. Other things I wanted to mention is that really randomly, but the Yggdraslida reel went semi-viral, I guess. It's my most popular reel by far, and so thank you for all of that love. And I didn't expect it, but if you are a subscriber because you found me through that reel, welcome. And last week, I mentioned that Small Business Saturday was last week on Saturday, but it's actually this week on Saturday. So today, for those of you watching on Saturday, November 30th instead. So make sure you support your small businesses if you are able to. And in terms of Black Friday shopping, I did buy a few yarn things, but I'll mention that as it comes in. But I did want to point out that there are a few indie dyers that have really good sales if you are looking to try in yarn. If you are looking to try yarn at a discount, then I think now is a good time to do it. And as I said at the beginning of this video, but the giveaway is for Tea Cozy Yarn Shop, not sponsored or anything, but I am giving away one $50 USD gift card to anybody who wants to enter, and you can find all of the details of how to do that in last week's video. I hope you had a good Thanksgiving if you are American. And again, Giving Tuesday is next Tuesday, and I know it's hard during the holiday season for everybody, and it's especially harder for those in need. And so if you are looking to donate to a charity, as I said before, we donate to Food Lifeline. I think this episode should be shorter, even though I did make so many things in November because I have been putting out weekly episodes. You can find all the details on the previous weeks. And this week, I really only had Gnorri and Musselburgh to show you. And next week, hopefully, I'll be done the Oxbow Socks as well as made some solid progress on my Northern Augustine No6. I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you next week.